The cargo station was cold, dead, and covered in shadows. Broken metal crates lay scattered across the rusted floors. The thick air smelled like oil and blood. No one came here not unless they were ready to disappear forever, and she was supposed to disappear. The alien girl, barefoot, bruised, and chain lay stretched across the train tracks. Her hands were bound behind her back, thick iron cuffs cutting into her purple skin. A dirty cloth gag covered her mouth, stopping her screams. Her once glowing white robes were torn and soaked in mud and blood. She had once been royalty, or daughter, of the palace. A voice that made soldiers bow and ministers tremble. Now she was chained like garbage, left for the train to crush. Her body shook. Not from fear, but from rage. She had trusted her cousin, trusted the ones who smiled at the royal table. Said they needed her help, but they only needed her signature, her blood, her life. They had killed her father, the emperor, and blamed her. Called her traitor, murderer, and enemy of the crown. And before she could speak, they threw her here. A low sound broke the silence. A metallic thud, then another. Footsteps. Her breathing stopped. Not soldiers. Too heavy. The steps grew louder. Someone was walking across the upper walkways of the cargo station. Slow, not rushing, like they didn't care who heard. She turned her head slightly, eyes scanning the darkness. Then she saw him. A human, tall, rough, a long coat over his shoulders, half-torn gloves, dirt on his face. A scar cut through his brow. And yet his eyes were calm. He stepped close, just 1 meter from the rails. The distant growl of the incoming train rumbled through the steel ground. He didn't reach for a weapon, didn't ask who she was. He just looked at her face, at the bruises, at the blood, then said, "You want to die here? Or do I get you off this hellhole?" She froze. Was this a trick? More footsteps behind him. Not soldiers, but drones. She saw a faint light flicker high above surveillance spots scanning the area. They hadn't spotted her yet. He knelt beside her. The smell of grease and smoke hung. Off him, with one hand, he pulled out a short blade. With the other, he grabbed the chain. She flinched, her entire body tense. But he didn't hurt her. He sliced through the cuffs. 1, 2, 3. She gasped as the weight fell away from her wrists. Her mouth was still gagged. He reached for that next. She backed her head away. He paused. "You don't trust me. Fine, but that train will hit this station in less than 2 minutes. You want to live?" She stared at him, eyes wide. Then slowly nodded. He pulled the gag off. She coughed, spit blood, and gasped for breath. "My name," she whispered, voice broken. "Doesn't matter." "I didn't ask," he said, grabbing her arm and lifting her to her feet. She collapsed. Her leg was cut, bone deep. She couldn't walk. He didn't hesitate. He picked her up, like she weighed nothing. "Hold on," he muttered, moving fast now. "Down the side rail path? I don't know who you are. I don't care who's trying to kill you, but nobody dies like that while I'm breathing." Her arms wrapped around his neck as the roar of the train grew louder. A blinding headlight cut through the fog behind them. The train was coming fast, too. Fast, he jumped over a broken fuel pipe, ducked under a hanging wire, and reached the edge of the station just as the train screamed past behind them. Metal flew. Dust exploded into the air. They tumbled to the floor safe. He panted, chest heaving, blood dripping from his knuckles. She looked up at him. "You're human," she said, almost in disbelief. "Yeah," he answered, standing slowly. "Still, haven't figured out if that's a good thing or not." She tried to sit, winced in pain. Her hands trembled. "Why? Why help me?" she asked, voice hoarse. He didn't look at her. He just wiped his blade, tucked it back in his belt, and said, "I don't like the sound of chains, especially when they're around the wrong neck." She blinked. That sentence wasn't something a soldier would say. Not a bounty hunter either. And when he looked back, his eyes had something she hadn't seen in a long time: pity. No. Worse. Understanding. "Who are you?" she whispered. But before he could answer, a warning beep echoed through the station. The drones had locked on to their location. They were not safe. Not yet. He grabbed her again. No time for questions. We move. Now. And without waiting, he ran with her in his arms straight into the shadows of the unknown. Asterisk. The night wind howled across the wastelands as he sprinted through the narrow service tunnels of the train yard. The injured alien girl, cradled tightly in his arms. Her breathing was shallow, but her eyes, those sharp violet eyes, stayed open, watching him, studying every move he made. She didn't know this human, didn't know his name, his past, or his reason. But for the first time in days, maybe weeks, she wasn't alone. Behind them, red scanning lights cut through the smoke-filled air. Drones swarmed down from high platforms, scanning for biosigns. A voice barked in the distance, filtered and cold. Through a comm unit, target has escaped. Track the human. Bring her back alive. Him dead. The human ducked into a cracked maintenance shaft, kicking aside a steel grate and sliding into the darkness. Inside, the air was warm and tight. Every breath felt like fire. He kept running, dodging low beams and forgotten machines. She winced, as each movement sent pain through her leg, but didn't complain. She gripped his jacket instead, trying not to scream. "You got a name?" he asked as they slowed inside the tunnel, his voice low and calm. She shook her head. "Doesn't matter." "Think it does." She looked at him, really looked tanned for a second. The flickering emergency lights revealed the truth. He was no soldier. No polished savior from the upper cities. His clothes were patched together from scraps. His boots had holes. But his hands didn't shake, and his eyes, they held the calm of someone who had already faced hell and come out burning. "Vena," she whispered finally. He nodded. "All right, Vena. I'm Cole. Try not to bleed out on me." She let out a broken laugh, short, sharp, and painful. "No promises." They reached the tunnel's end and emerged into what looked like an abandoned storage bay. Dust floated in the amber light, and old cargo bots stood like dead giants along the walls. Cole set her down gently on a padded bench and tore off a piece of his sleeve. He started wrapping her leg. She winced but didn't move. "You don't work for them, do you?" He didn't look up. "If I did, we'd be having this talk with your hands still in chains. Then why help me? You don't know what I am." I don't care," he said simply. "They left you to die. That was enough." She went quiet. No one had ever said that before. Not in that way. Not without expecting something in return. He finished the wrap and stood. "We've got maybe 10 minutes before they figure out where we went. You able to move?" "I'll try." He began moving again slowly. This time through the ruins of the lower city, beneath the train depot. This place had been alive once. You could see it in the broken neon signs, the shattered market stalls, the rusting mech frames left leaning against walls like forgotten corpses. But now it was empty. A graveyard for people like her. As they moved, Vena whispered, "They framed me, said I killed my father, said I wanted the throne." "Did you?" Cole asked, glancing back. "No, I wanted peace. That made me a threat." He nodded again, not judging. Just listening. Vena limped beside him. Every step a wave of agony, but she kept going. She had to, because now she had a chance. Suddenly a sharp whistle sliced through the air. Cole yanked her behind a wall, just as a group of bounty hunters passed nearby, 3 of them, armored with pulse rifles glowing in their hands. They were dragging someone. Another girl, younger, alien, bound. "They're rounding up more." Vena whispered. Cole's jaw tightened. "They think everyone's a threat if they're not on their knees." Once the hunters passed, Cole stepped out. His voice was steel now. "We're not just running anymore. We're getting out of this city. There's no way out," she replied. "Every ship, every exit, they're all locked." "I've tried." He smiled for the first time. Just a twitch of the mouth. "That's because you haven't tried my way." "And what way is that?" He turned, pulled back his coat slightly, and showed her something unexpected, a hacked nav chip. Glowing faint green, marked with a banned military crest. Vena's eyes widened. "That's from the war. Those were used to override lockdown systems." "Exactly?" You stole that? No, I earned it. They kept walking, moving faster now. She didn't ask how he earned it. She didn't want to know. But she knew one thing: he was more dangerous than he looked. They reached an old cargo elevator half buried under debris. Cole smashed the panel open, rewired it with the nav chip, and hit the button. The elevator groaned to life. As it climbed, the city opened around them. Above, the stars began to peek through the broken dome. But something caught her attention in the mirror of the lift's interior. Her arm, where the royal bracelet had been, was glowing faintly under her skin. Cole saw it too. He stared. Is that? She pulled her sleeve down quickly. Nothing. But it wasn't nothing. It pulsed like a heartbeat, and in the distance, something old, something ancient, had just awakened in response. Asterisk. Smoke hung in the sky like a memory that wouldn't leave. The city above was burning, small fires curling from rooftops, sparks floating through the night like fireflies. Somewhere out there, soldiers were still hunting them. Somewhere out there, her name was on every screen, every bounty board. It's flashing red with the word traitor. But here, in the hollow wreck of an old skyport hangar, Vena stood still for the first time in days. She leaned against a cold wall, gripping the edge of a rusted supply crate for balance. Her leg still throbbed, but Cole had rewrapped it with cleaner cloth. It was healing too fast for a normal wound. Too fast for someone like her. She didn't want to explain it. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Cole was a few feet away, kneeling beside a shattered terminal. He was silent, focused, his fingers dancing across ancient wires and broken keys. Dust and blood lined his sleeves, but his hands were steady. He worked like someone who'd done this before, who'd stolen, hacked, rewired his way through war zones. Like someone who didn't ask permission. Someone who didn't need it. You said you earned that nav chip, Vena said suddenly, watching him. How? He didn't stop working. It was given to me. By who? A soldier, he replied. She died buying me 10 seconds. His chip was in her hand when she did. Vena didn't answer. He looked up after a moment, his voice softer. You want the truth? She nodded. I was in the siege of Icarus. A human medical freighter got shot down. I was a mechanic, not a soldier. Not then. But I got pulled into the fire anyway, and I survived, he said simply. Others didn't. She made sure of that. Vena looked down. That Namacris was a name she remembered from the war reports. A battlefield so brutal, even the stars above it dimmed for a while. The Empire had left that world in ashes, and now this man, the human, who had no crown, no title, no rank, stood here helping her. The most hunted soul in the quadrant, the one marked by a kingdom that no longer wanted her alive. The terminal clicked. Suddenly, Cole stood. I've pinged a ship. She raised an eyebrow. You have a ship? No. But the man I'm about to steal it from definitely does. Before she could speak, a loud thud hit the back door of the hangar. Cole grabbed her and pulled her into the shadows behind a stack of broken crates. The door slid open with a shriek of rust. 3 figures entered, 2 alien bounty hunters and 1 masked human in black armor. All were armed. One of them spoke in a dry voice. Tracker says, the royal's blood passed through here. She's close. Vena's heart pounded. She tried to breathe quietly, but her lungs felt like they were wrapped in fire. Cole crouched beside her, didn't move. His hand rested on the grip of his pistol but didn't draw. Not yet. Another hunter stepped closer to the crates. Just one more step. The masked human suddenly paused. His head tilted, then, with no warning, fired a shot directly at the wall behind them. The crate shattered. Cole rolled, pushing Vena flat to the ground as plasma burned inches from her face. He fired back once, twice. Out. 1 bounty hunter dropped. Masked man rushed forward, but Cole was faster. He ducked low, spun, and drove a broken metal pipe into the man's knee. The masked figure stumbled, and in that split second, Vena rose, grabbed the hunter's weapon off the floor, fired. The last bounty hunter fell without a sound. Silence returned. Broken only by their breathing, Vena's hands trembled around. The stolen rifle. That wasn't luck. Cole looked at her. No, it wasn't. She dropped the weapon, staring at the bodies. This doesn't stop, does it? No, he said. Not until they stop breathing or you stop running. She turned to him. Then maybe I need to stop running. He studied her face. She wasn't afraid anymore? Angry? Yes. Broken, maybe, but not afraid. He didn't speak. Instead, he stepped over to the masked bounty hunter's body and pulled something from his belt. Small. Blinking disc tracker beacon, he muttered. They knew exactly where you were. She frowned. Then how are we still alive? He held up the beacon. Because I'm not stupid enough to stay in one place twice. They moved quickly, exiting through the broken cargo rail behind the hangar. As they traveled deeper into the Undercity, Vena noticed something strange. Every time she passed a certain type of Panalan, old Imperial system, it flickered, reacted. Her presence lit up tech that hadn't worked in years. When they entered a long-abandoned security station, one such panel buzzed to life. A soft voice echoed from the wall. Biometric match detected. Welcome, Princess Vena. Cole froze. She said nothing. The voice continued. Would you like to unlock classified royal protocols? She didn't answer. Her face went pale. Her eyes dropped to the glowing pulse beneath her skin. Vena, Cole said slowly. What are you not telling me? She exhaled, defeated. I'm not just the Emperor's daughter, she whispered. I was designed, engineered. He blinked. What? I'm not fully organic, not fully machine. My blood carries Imperial command keys. I wasn't just next in line. I am the last line. She looked him in the eyes now. No lies, no hiding. They didn't just frame me, Cole. They tried to erase me. Guess if I live, I can bring the Empire back. And suddenly, everything made sense. Why they wanted her dead. Why the drones never gave up. Why the systems awakened around her. She wasn't the last princess. She was the last weapon. Asterisk ash, dust, drifted across the forgotten Undercity like gray snow. Cole led the way through narrow walkways of collapsed stone and melted steel. The buildings above had crumbled during the orbital bombardments years ago. But the bones of the old city still held secret paths below tunnels, no longer marked on maps. Stairwells leading to silence, and old bridges stretching between the dead. Behind him, Vena moved slower now. Not because of her injury it had nearly sealed, but because of the weight of what she had admitted. The truth was out. No more hiding, no more half-answers. She was a living key to the Empire's lost systems. And if she survived, the chains, holding the galaxy's worst weapons in slumber, would snap like string. She could bring an army back from the grave. And someone maybe. Many someones was terrified of that. Cole stopped under a broken pillar and turned to face her. For the first time, he looked unsure. His fingers tapped the side of his belt. Not nervous, just calculating. You said you were designed, engineered. His voice was quiet but direct. How much of you is real? Vena hesitated. Her hand instinctively rested on the faint glow at her forearm. I don't know. They never told me. Cole stared for a moment, then turned and sat on a jagged slab of concrete. Well, you bleed. You scream. You lie when you're scared. Sounds real enough to me. She looked at him, surprised by his calm. He shrugged. I don't care if you're half machine full, alien, or made of stardust. You're not trying to kill me. That's a good start. For a moment, she almost smiled. Then she sat beside him. What about you? She asked. You dodge questions better than blaster fire. You said you were a mechanic during the war. But you fight like someone who used to give orders. Cole! Didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, I wasn't born into war. I was made by it. He took something from his coda small metal disc, no larger than a coin. He placed it in her hand. She turned it over. It was a military dog tag. Burned on one side, cracked. The name was unreadable. But on the back, a word had been scratched in with a knife. Redeem. She was a commander, Cole said. Saved my life during an evacuation. Gave me her tag. Said when you find something worth saving, Don't hesitate. Then she covered me with her body. When the blast hit, Vena didn't move, just held the disc quietly between her fingers. She didn't look like a hero, he continued. Didn't talk like one either. Just tired, done with blood. But in that one moment, she gave everything. For a half-trained mechanic who was hiding under rubble, Vena looked at him. That's why you pulled me off those tracks. He nodded, didn't want to hesitate again. They sat in silence, and then the ground shook, a low vibration, barely noticeable at first. Then louder, closer. Cole was up in a second, gun drawn. Scanners, Vena muttered. They're pulse mapping the underground. Swore under his breath and grabbed her wrist. Need to move now. They ran through the cracked passageways and collapsed ruins. The air began to hum like it was alive. Red lights started to blink from the walls, reacting to her presence again. Vena turned a corner and stopped. Ahead, through a shattered wall, stood a black vault door, circular, armored, humming with power. Long dead cables ran from its frame, and a single console blinked softly beside it. She felt her blood grow warm. It was reacting to her. She stepped forward. The console lit up. Imperial command signature detected. Welcome, High Corvina, the system said in a neutral voice. Cole's mouth tightened. What is this? War room, she whispered. Old Empire tech? Buried after the treaty. She pressed her hand to the panel. The vault hissed. Opened. Inside was a dim chamber filled with consoles, long-forgotten data scrolls, and a chair. No, not a chair, a throne. Silver, low to the ground, built with tech veins pulsing through it like blood. Cole stepped in slowly. This is where they would have brought you. She nodded. This is where I was meant to sit. Control fleets, launch systems, rule. He looked at her, and now she didn't answer. Instead, she walked toward the throne. The glow under her skin brightened. The chamber responded. Lights flickered to life across the ceiling. Then suddenly, the room filled with a projection. Dozens of star systems, each marked in red. Alongside them, messages, forces lost, command lines broken, human control increasing. The final one, activate core protocols or risk collapse. Vena turned to Cole. Her face was pale. They were preparing to use me as a weapon, even if I didn't want to, even if I was never ready. He stepped beside her. Then don't. Give them what they want. What if I can't stop it? Cole didn't hesitate. Then I stay with you until we do. She looked at him. For the first time, really looked. She was a royal weapon. He was a man with no nation. But here in this ancient tomb of war, they were just two souls, one trying to outrun the past, the other trying to rewrite it. The silence was broken by a sharp beep from outside. Cole looked up. Someone's here, he whispered, and I don't think they're here to talk. And before she could answer, the vault door slammed shut and locked them in. The air in the vault grew thick with tension as the heavy door sealed shut behind them. The faint hum of the ancient machinery now echoed louder, surrounding Vena and Cole like the heartbeat of a sleeping beast waking from its long slumber. Cole's eyes scanned the dimly lit chamber. We're trapped, he muttered, fingers tightening around the grip of his pistol. And whatever's coming is no joke. Vena steadied herself against the cold metal wall, her leg aching with every breath. Yet, beneath the pain was a simmering resolve. She had survived betrayals, chains, and hunts. This was just another trial. Outside, muffled footsteps approached, steady, deliberate, and too many to count. Voices followed in a harsh alien tongue, punctuated by the mechanical whir of drones. They're closing in. Cole said, eyes flickering toward the console that controlled the vault. He tapped rapidly, trying to override the lock. Vena's gaze drifted to the throne. Pulsing veins of tech under her skin synchronized with the machine's glow. Her blood sang a strange song, awakening dormant codes etched deep within her. Suddenly, the console beeped a warning. Security override initiated, the system intoned. Hostiles detected. Lockdown protocol active. Cole swore under his breath. This is going to get ugly. Vena stepped forward, placing both hands on the armrests of the throne. A surge of energy coursed through her, intertwining with the chamber's ancient tech. Screens flickered alive, revealing star maps, battle plans, and encrypted data streams. Her voice was steady but heavy. This is the Empire's last weapon, not just me, but this. If they take it, they control everything. Cole studied her. Faced no longer just the hunted alien, but a queen burdened with impossible power. We can't let that happen, he said firmly. But right now, we have to survive. Outside the vault, the attackers prepared. The door rattled under blows. From plasma hammers, shouts commanded entry, promises of death for the traitor princess. Cole took a deep breath. Listen, Vena, if this thing wakes fully, it might be our only chance. She nodded, though fear flickered in her eyes. Together, they triggered the core activation sequence. The chamber shuddered as dormant systems surged to life. Walls shimmered, and defensive turrets emerged from hidden panels. A protective dome of energy encased the vault. Outside, the attackers recoiled, their weapons bouncing harmlessly against the shield. Inside, Vena felt the power grow within her, the ancient code mingling with her own heartbeat. She could feel the Empire's strength flowing back through her veins. But with it came a choice. Cole, she whispered, I can use this power to fight them all. But it will tie me to this place forever. Again, he looked into her eyes, seeing the weight of that decision. Or, he said slowly, you can let me take you away from this, away from the Empire and all this war. Start fresh, but they'll never stop hunting you. Vena clenched her fists. The throne glowed brighter, humming with possibility. I'm tired of running, she said. And I'm tired of losing people I care about, he replied. The shield flickered as the enemy prepared another assault. Time was running out. She made her choice, standing tall. Vena raised her hand, sending a pulse of energy that shook the vault to its core. Let them come, she said with fierce determination. Cole nodded, drawing his pistol. Ready to stand beside her, the betrayed alien queen and the human who refused to let her fall. Outside, the first wave hit. Inside, a new battle was just beginning. The air inside the vault was thick with electricity and tension, humming like a living thing, awakening from centuries of slumber. Vena stood beside the glowing throne, her eyes fixed on the swirling star maps projected before her. Each flicker of light seemed to pulse in time with the strange energy coursing beneath her skin. This power was ancient, vast, and dangerous far. Beyond anything she had ever imagined, Cole moved cautiously around the room, his boots echoing softly on the cold metal floor. Despite the battle raging just beyond the shielded walls, he remained focused, his eyes sharp and calculating. Dog tag in his pocket felt heavier than ever, a reminder of sacrifices made and promises to keep. Vena turned toward him, voice low but steady. This isn't just a throne, it's a command center. It's the heart of the Empire's last great weapon. Cole frowned. You mean this place could control fleets? Weapons that could destroy planets? She nodded slowly. Not just control, it's linked. To a living AI, one that adapts, learns, and fights. I'm the key to unlocking it. He swallowed hard. And if they get their hands on you. ... On this AI. They will bring war back to the stars, she said grimly. War none of us can survive. Outside, the pounding on the vault door grew louder, desperate and unyielding. The enemy knew the prize was close. They would not stop. Cole gripped his pistol. Tighter. We need a plan, and fast. Vena's eyes softened as she studied him. There's one way to stop them, but it will change everything. He looked at her, waiting. If I bond with you, she said quietly, the AI core will synchronize with your mind. Will become the link, the commander. But once bonded, there's no going back. Cole's heart raced. The idea was terrifying. To connect with an alien intelligence that could consume him or reshape his very being. Yet beneath the fear was a spark of hope, a chance to fight back on their own terms. He met her gaze. I don't care what it takes. It means keeping you alive, ... and stopping this war. I'm in. Her hand reached out, trembling, and pressed against his chest, right where his heart beat steady and strong. The moment their skin touched, a surge of light flooded the room.
Dreams,
Memories and emotions crashed between them like waves. Cole felt his mind stretch and reshape, filling with knowledge of star systems, ancient battles, and the weight of an empire's legacy. Pain and power twisted inside him. Vena gasped, clutching his arm. Are you okay? He nodded, breath ragged. I'm more than okay. We're linked. Suddenly, the vault shuddered. The shield flickered under a massive assault. Outside, distant explosions echoed as enemy forces launched a full-scale attack. Cole stood tall, feeling the AI's strength flow through him. Let them come. We're ready. Mena smiled, a mix of relief and determination. Together, bonded by fate and fire, they prepared to face the storm to unlikely warriors. Standing as one against a galaxy on the brink of chaos, the vault shook violently as explosions rocked the city above. Outside, the sound of war surged like a thunderstorm laser fire, shattered metal and distant cries of battle. But inside, a calm settled over Vena and Cole. Their bond hummed with power, a fusion of ancient empire and human resolve. Cole stood before the glowing throne, now transformed into a command center pulsating with life. His eyes scanned the swirling star maps, reading battle lines and enemy positions faster than any human mind could alone. Vena was beside him, her strength intertwined with his, her presence a steady beacon amid the chaos. This is it, she said softly, voice carrying the weight of destiny. At her chance to turn the tide. He nodded. Let's make them regret ever hunting you? With a sweep of his hand, the vault's systems activated defenses. Energy barriers shimmered. Automated turrets emerged from hidden panels and drone swarms materialized, buzzing with lethal precision. The ancient AI that had once ruled entire fleets was awake and ready to fight again. Outside, the enemy forces, armies of mercenaries, bounty hunters, and rogue soldiers had surrounded the vault. Their weapons fired relentlessly, but the shields held strong, pushing back waves of plasma and missiles. Suddenly, the vault's external cameras detected movement at the perimeter. A massive warship descended from orbit, black and sleek, blazoned with the Imperial crest, her own people, arriving not as saviors, but as executioners. They came for me, Vena said, eyes narrowing. Cole's jaw tightened. Then they'll have to get through us first. The warship unleashed a barrage of fire, shaking the vault and cracking parts of the shield. Cole's hands danced over the control panels, directing defenses and launching counterattacks with surgical precision. Vena stepped forward, placing her palm against the throne's console. The room responded instantly, sending a pulse of energy beyond the vault, awakening hidden weapon systems scattered across the city ruins. Automated cannons on nearby towers fired back, turning the battlefield into a deadly dance of light and destruction. The battle was fierce and unrelenting. But inside, a deeper war raged. Battle of wills between the AI core inside. Vena and the Empire's corrupted forces trying to seize control. Cole felt her strength falter for a moment and reached out, grounding her with a steady hand. You're not alone. Together they pushed forward, the bond between them growing stronger, blending human intuition with alien technology. The tide began to turn, as the enemy warship faltered under coordinated attacks. Transmission crackled through the vaults. Comes a voice both familiar and unexpected. This is Admiral Kalen, it said, cold and commanding. Princess Vena, surrender now, and the Empire will grant you mercy. Vena's eyes blazed. Mercy. You call the ones who betrayed me mercy? Cole stepped beside her. They lost that right when they left her to die. With a nod, Vena accessed the Empire's final protocol, a self-destruct sequence that would destroy the entire city if the vault was compromised. Do it, she said, voice fierce. If they want war, they'll get it. But they won't get me. Cole hesitated. There has to be another way. She shook her head. There isn't. Minutes later, the enemy's last assault was broken, the warship retreating in flames. The vault's shields held. Vena and Cole emerged as victors in a battle that would echo through the stars. But victory came at a cost. The AI core had bonded permanently with Cole, altering him beyond what he could have imagined. Vena's power was now intertwined with his very being. Together, they were both rulers and guardians of a legacy neither had expected. As dawn broke over the ruins, Vena looked at Cole and smiled a real hopeful smile. Maybe this is a new empire, she said. One where no one is betrayed or chained. He returned her smile. One where we fight together. Hand in hand, they stepped from the vault into the rising sun, ready to face whatever future they would build. United. As allies, as leaders, and as the last hope for a broken galaxy.